Alright lads and lasses, I'm Xcentric Racer, and we are back on Forza 7 for another XFRS. This time we had S-Class open cars, and that's it. First race, they headed to Indianapolis. This is the GP modern circuit, following the... Sorry, I've forgotten the car I was following, and I've just recorded this earlier today. The 911 GT2. Yeah, this evening, it had actually had a fair amount of good racing in it. This GT2 is going around the inside of the 97 Civic. 97 Civic suffering a lot of understeer around turn 4, thinking is this outpacing the BMW 1 Series touring car, heading towards this big braking zone. You can see the gap that it's starting to pull. The older 911 GT2, I think, with the RWD body kit on it, was also starting to catch up to that BMW. However, the BMW goes up the inside of this Porsche. Unsurprisingly, the touring car has a hell of a lot of handling, but has no top speed. However, it is managed to stay ahead of the Porsche through sort of the S section there. As they're heading onto the oval for the first time, you can see the BMW is still a little bit ahead of the Porsche that we're following. So it actually tags the back of the Ford GT up ahead. It's going to put on a bad line. It's going to allow the Porsche to be on the inside for this left-hander here. However, it's not going to be able to complete the position. The overtake, sorry, that BMW has too much handling for that Porsche. However, as they head onto the start-finish part of the oval, the BMW just has nothing down the straights compared to the three cars. They're going three wide up towards turn 1 with a DBS on the very outside, a GT in the middle, and this 911 GT2 on the very inside. The Porsche not quite getting all of the positions. It does get past the Ford, however the Aston Martin is able to be on the inside for the turn 2 and is going to get the position back. The Ford is going to have a go up the inside of turn 4, is going to get that position. Well, it's going to get ahead briefly. However, the Porsche has a much better run out of that corner and is going to be able to keep that position against the Ford, and is just going to chase down that Aston Martin heading towards the big braking zone from the back straight. The Ford, I think, does manage to get stopped. The Aston Martin just runs quite wide out of that left-hander there, gets a very bad run through the right-hander, and is going to lose the position to the Porsche. Almost loses it to the Ford GT there, and the Porsche is now able just to chase down one of the many classic Formula 1 cars. I don't know which one that is. Anyway, I think the Ford GT a little bit further back did actually manage to get the position against that Aston Martin. The Porsche almost goes into the back of the wooden classic Formula 1 car there. Doesn't quite do it, yet the Ford did indeed get a position against that Aston Martin there, as they're now heading onto the back straight. The classic Formula 1 cars did have a good amount of acceleration and as well had good top end. The M1 Pro car started at the back of the field. Obviously, it had a hell of a lot of handling, so it did mean by turn 1 it was at the very, very back. However, it wasn't doing dreadfully around here, so having to chase down that 97 Civic there, outbrakes himself ever so slightly heading up to turn 1. Is going to be on a very bad line from turn 2. However, is far enough ahead from the Hellcat there that it is able to keep its position. I think that's the Charger. The 97 Civic gets a big two-wheel moment out in turn 4 and is going to get a big slide. It's going to cost it a lot of time. However, the M1 Pro car does not have the straight line speed of any of the cars around, really. The only one that can really compete with is the touring car. The Hellcat tries to go around the outside. There's a little bit of Forza glue. The Hellcat just allows the BMW to regain control. I think that was Forza glue, I'm not too sure. However, the BMW did keep the position against the Hellcat. Has a go up the inside of the 97 Civic. However, just a small acceleration zone is more than enough to keep that Civic ahead. Up ahead, there's a big calamity with one of the older 911 GT2s. It does cause a little bit of a hamper to these two cars up here. The BMW getting freaked out. The Jaeger Porsche did manage to keep position, only lost 2 positions, didn't quite lose it to the Hellcat. But yeah, it was a little bit of a sideways car that didn't really have a lot of rear end grip. The M1 Pro car did almost draw alongside the 97 Civic. However, we're on the start finish straight and it's not going to matter, and it gets absolutely mugged by the Hellcat and the RWB Porsche there. Sorry, it's going to be on the outside for turn 2 and is not quite it's not going to quite gain 2 positions. It does gain 1 against the Porsche, losing the back end, and it does gain a position against the Honda there, the Honda just it's really struggling round the corners, and it's just not able to really do anything about it. However, the Hellcat is far enough ahead as we're now down this back straight. The Porsche is going to have a look, see if we can get past the BMW. BMW is going to be the inside though for this big braking zone. The Honda isn't quite going to be able to just backs out from it. The Porsche is still alongside the BMW. Keeps it alongside for the first part. BMW is going to be on the inside for the left-hander. The Porsche is getting a big sideways moment and is going to lose time against that BMW and not really lose the fight. Goes onto the grass and is going to drop back to the back of that little battle there. The BMW couldn't quite get the Hellcat, however, through the next big braking zone, the right-hander does get up the inside of the Hellcat. I think is actually ahead. The Hellcat was in the sort of the back corner, however, just one more corner and it really wasn't going to matter. Up ahead, the Monaco King Cobra, that was also really good through the corners, was having a little bit of issues against one of the Corvette ZR1s. That ZR1 being a mighty quick car in this field, actually. It was seriously good. Anyway, the King Cobra with a livery and a half did have good acceleration, did struggle on top end. You can see the Corvette there having a lot of pace there as it's storming up to the inside of the King Cobra, but the King Cobra is very good on the brakes, does actually tag the back of the Ford GT there. It's going to lose that position to the Corvette because of it. However, we are still in the handling section. It's going to be able to gain that time back up. It seriously did have a lot of grip, and like I said, good acceleration. You see that it actually out-accelerates the Corvette initially. It's going to be on the inside as they're heading onto the Brickyard Oval for the first part. Big braking zone onto this right-hander, and is actually ahead of the Corvette at this point, and couldn't quite get up the inside of the Ford. The Corvette kind of fighting back, gets a big wheel spin moment out of that left-hander there, and they're now heading back on the start-finish straight. As you see there, the Corvette does have a noticeable gap back to that King Cobra. However, once the speed starts picking up, you can just see the Corvette just sails past, but it is earlier on the brakes. The Monaco is able to fight around the outside, isn't going to quite able to do it. The Corvette obviously going to be on the power earlier, is going to get that position against the against the King Cobra. However, the King Cobra is going to fight immediately back around turn 3 and 4, being on the inside. It's going to draw alongside, but the Corvette has a better run, being on the less shallower line. Is able to get on the power more keep it more stable, not having to go across the curbs. The one Formula 1 car gets a big sideways moment on heading up the chicane there, and is going to lose 2 positions. And now, sort of the handling section, this is where the King Cobra is strongest against a lot of the cars here, and you can see that it's starting to gain onto the back of the Corvette. He's almost had a go on the inside on a short acceleration zone, but the Corvette was far enough ahead and had the inside line that the King Cobra wasn't able to do anything. But the Corvette is just going to take a little bit more of a naturally wider line. The King Cobra is going to spot an opportunity, throw it up the inside, and is going to get the position against that Corvette, and is now going to start chasing down that Ford GT, getting much better runs than that Corvette as they're now heading on to the start-finish straight. Yet again, the King Cobra is quite close to the back of that Ford GT, isn't actually too far off the speed of it. Initially, the Ford does start pulling away. The Corvette also starts catching them up as they're heading towards turn 1. The King Cobra gets a much better turn 1 and turn 2 as well. It's on the back of that Ford, and is going to have, and you know, he's in fighting distance around turn 3 and 4, but was in fighting distance, but can't really gain anywhere as they're going too wide through the chicane. The Ford turns in just a little bit too late. The King Cobra has to throw it, has to cut the corner really to keep it too wide. And I think lifts off ever so slightly. The Corvette is now fighting back on the inside for that big braking zone there. Is going to draw it alongside. He's a little bit ahead. It's still too wide through the S's. However, through the left-hander, the King Cobra is going to be able to keep that Corvette on a shallow line, and able to get the acceleration out of that corner better. Again, it does actually have the initial acceleration. However, the Corvette, you know, is all over the back of it, but can't get a position against the King Cobra. The King Cobra is going to throw on the inside of Ford GT, bouncing across the curbs on the outside for that left-hander, and is actually going to be able to get that position against that car. And that was the battle for 4th. It was a seriously good one. to watch. This was much further back, and I think we're watching the Miura. Indeed, we are trying to overtake the purple SL65 Black. That Black, the AMG Black there, had silly amounts of straight line speed. You can see that gap is kind of starting to be pulled there, and then it is just absolutely gone. Like, before the start-finish line, it is just absolutely... It F's off. Like, there's no other word for it. However, through the corners, it is a massive boat. You can see that it misses the apex completely at turn 1, and the Miura here is able to get all of its time back. Through turn 1 and 2. It's going to be on the inside for turn 3 and 4. Is gonna be on the inside line. The Mercedes can't really do much about it. It just doesn't have the grip, really. However, he's far enough ahead that the Miura can't actually gain a position on it. And we're on the back straight, and you can see there that the Mercedes is just starting to pull a gap. The 97 Civic was also starting to get involved in this fight. These three were actually very quick down the straight. The Miura had a bit more, well, I think, well, it was better handling than the Mercedes. That you can see it's on the inside for the... It's alongside for the S's, and the Mercedes gets a little bit of a wiggle out of that left-hander. It's actually going to clatter into the Miura. Whilst all this fighting is going on, the Jaeger Porsche in the background there that you saw is actually now starting to get drawn into this fight on the back of the EK90s, on the, I think it's the EK9 Civic. I don't remember EKs, I just know years. Anyway, you can see, yeah, you can see that just from small acceleration zones that the Mercedes is just able to pull a big gap. The Civic is under fire now from that Jaeger Porsche. You can see that the Porsche was just on the back of the Civic there, but it's not really going to matter too much. At the front, and Sheep would win with one of the classic Formula 1 cars. Carver would take second with the modern 911 GT2, and Digging would take third with the Lancia Beta Monte Carlo. As you can see there, Carver with a nice second place, and Digging with a third place in the Beta. The Beta, they held on valiantly, started near up front, ran away for a while, and led for a good amount of laps, so it was good driving from them. Second race, they headed to Kota following the M1 Pro car here with the wooden classic Formula 1 car, out accelerating that car towards turn 1. There was a few bumps and shoves through turn 1. There always usually is in these races, you know, cold tyres, people, you know, having to kind of learn the braking, much different braking power and things like that. Crashes are bound to happen. Anyway, this M1 Pro car really did like this track as well. You can see it's on the outside. I'm pretty sure it's 3 wide there. Yep, between the GT and the Mercedes Black there. And he's going to get both positions on the outside, as they're now you can just see just a sea of lights going through the S's. The 97 Civic does not have an answer for the M1 around the corners and bobbles across the curb, trying to still be on the inside of the M1, as they're now heading onto the hairpin, going onto the back straight. You see the M1 is pulling a nice gap, actually tags the back of the big Bentley there. However, we're on a long back straight, and the M1 really struggles. You see the Bentley there absolutely buggering off, and there's the Black. It's just so much straight line speed there. It really does just F off from everyone else. Like I said, there's no other word for it. But then there's an absolute handful. I'm pretty sure missed the braking zone entirely, just from the amount of speed they had from that left-hander. Yeah. The M1 Pro car is going around the outside of the 97 Civic there, is drawing alongside of it, is a very long way to go around the outside there. The 911 GT2 is then going to try it on the double left-hander there. So both of them escape the track a little bit, trying to keep it 3 wide. Both the BMW and the Porsche though do manage to get the position, as they're now going up the inside of an old Corvette Stingray, and the Bentley that absolutely hated corners. Was also really struggled, just didn't have an answer, sorry, for the Porsche or the M1 Pro car there. A little bit further back, the Corvette was stood near the back and was making their way nicely through the field, following the back of the Ford GT there. They're having the DBS for company as one of the classic, as they are going down the start-finish straight, heading towards lap 2. One of the classic Formula 1 cars is on the inside of the Aston Martin DBS. They're big braking on the turn 1. They do actually get a little bit forced. The Aston Martin sort of being better on the brakes than the classic Formula 1 car. The Formula 1 car, I think, just outbraked himself ever so slightly, and, you know, they're going to get connected, the clash of lines, and they're going to get dragged off the track. Through the S's, the Corvette was really catching up to the 05 GT there, and the Hellcat is going to be on the inside for the Ford. Actually cuts the corner ever so slightly, but is a little bit too far back to get in the corner. However, on the left-hander is actually able to get a position against that Ford GT. And there is an absolutely monumental crash there. The Bentley turns in way too early and takes out, I think, 3-4 cars there. All crashed into that Bentley, or crashing the cars that crashed into it. Yeah, that was a big crash there. The Ford and the Corvette actually got a little bit of Forza glue. However, they did manage to get back onto the track safely. The Corvette getting the position against the Ford GT, losing position as well to that Hellcat, and down the straight, the RS200 didn't have an answer for the Corvette. As now on the back straight, is now going on the big Britons on the RS200 had good acceleration. You see the Mercedes black there in the back now, absolutely flying down there. Went up the inside of the Ford, but doesn't have an answer really for the four-wheel drive acceleration. The Challenger Hellcat is making it 3 wide, outbrakes himself a little bit, but the Mercedes, I mean, to be honest, the Mercedes was just lose positions anyway. It did struggle that much through the corners. The Corvette that we were following did start to pull a gap. However, the 054 GT was in the thick of it all, as they're now having to chase down the Hellcat. The Hellcat running very wide through this very long multi-apex right-hander. The Ford is going to be on the inside through it. However, it's going to be on the outside for the penultimate left-hander there, and is not going to be able to quite get the position against the Hellcat there, as there are many cars behind. The Ford gives a little bit of a tag to the Hellcat. However, does not try and take advantage of it. A wooden classic Formula 1 car, and the winner of race 1 was also starting in this fight. The winner of race 1 is going to be on the inside for the Ford GT, heading into turn 1. The wooden classic Formula 1 car, sorry, also went up the inside. However, gets just outbrakes himself ever so slightly, tags the side of the Ford. The Ford GT is absolutely unaffected of that little tag. The blue Formula 1 car does manage to get a position against that blue Hellcat. The purple Mercedes black there is just struggling through the S's, is getting a little bit did gain ever so slightly because of that little tangle. However, you know, through the corners it can't do anything. You see that it's causing a massive train of 4 cars there, as it's so slow through the corners, but it's not going to matter. You see there that the King Cobra tried to go up the inside. I think they had a little bit of a collision there, and it's just going to spit the car out, going very wide in the background there. The Ford GT was starting to actually catch up to the Hellcat, and I thought I would show you the straight line speed of the Mercedes Black. You could just see that it's just absolutely flying. Sails past the Monaco King Cobra. It's actually starting to catch up ever so slightly to the Classic Formula 1 car up there, and that is not slow. The Classic Formula 1 cars, they have good top speeds, but, you know, they have more acceleration, they're lighter, and they actually have more grip than this Mercedes. The King Cobra, just, you know, all of its time lost through down the straight, it gained instantly back because the Mercedes outbraked themselves ever so slightly and just has nothing down the corners. The Beta Monte Carlo tries to go up the inside of this double left-hander there, and is going to be on the outside of the multi-apex right-hander here, and is going to get in position. The DBS is also going to follow the Monaco. You could just see the gap that the Beta is able to pull there. You did see that there was a lagged out V8 supercar. That's a little bit unfortunate. Like, just the gap that the Beta has through the cornering section. Yeah, that car was seriously liking this track. As we're now down the start finish straight, and the Aston Martin, you can see there, is just got nothing against the black. The Mercedes actually overtakes the Aston Martin before they begin the next lap. That's just how quick this car is, and that DBS is no slouch down the straight line, down the straights. One of the classic Formula cars got tangled up and, well, had a bit of a, and got spat out very wide out of turn 1 and is going to drop back positions. The Aston Martin is going to go around the outside, it's going to put on the inside through the beginning of the S's here, and the Mercedes is trying to fight back, but it's just not got the answer against the Aston Martin. And the Aston Martin isn't even that much of a handling car, but the Mercedes just has nothing, absolutely nothing against it. Up ahead, the Ford GT manages to get back past the Lancia Beta. Another is the wooden classic Formula 1 car actually I think hits the tyre bundle and obviously spins out and is going to lose a lot of positions. The green Formula 1 car back there is going to get a big sideways moment down that left kink. You can see that they're just a grip difference of the classic Formula 1 car, and you know, it was on the back of this Mercedes. The Aston Martin gets a dodgy run and the Mercedes is gone. Absolutely gone. The green Formula 1 car as well actually managed to get alongside. You just saw there a glimpse of the Beta Monte Carlo. It's just how stupidly quick this car is. It's just like 5 frames of Beta, of Lancia Beta, and Mercedes has passed. But, you know, round the corner, it doesn't mean anything. The Lancia just flies back fast through the corner. The Jaeger Porsche was having a battle with the 4GT, and I think the Corvette gets a little bit of a dodgy run across the curb, speaks it sideways, and is going to be very wide through this multi-apex right-hander. Again, just losing the back end. The car did not have a lot of rear-end grip. Even though the rear engine has got a massive wing, it just didn't have the rear end. It just didn't have it. I don't know what size tyres it has, but it would be very wide. However, the Beta throws up the inside into the final corner. It's going to get the position, but we are on a start-finish. We are on a straight, and you can just see that the Lancia is really struggling. The Porsche, though, doesn't really fly past. However, it does start pulling a gap into turn 1, and you know, the Porsche, whilst didn't have a lot of grip, was actually able to carry good corner speed once it actually did have the grip. However, it's just no answer for the Lancia. The Lancia could just go around the outside of practically any single car it wanted to. The Porsche gets a very dodgy run though through the S's. I don't think it was assisted. And yeah, you can just see the Lancia was gone. The green Formula 1 car gets a big sideways moment. Actually, I think the Lancia did actually tag them, did weigh it up, let the Porsche get their position back. So yeah, my bad on that. There was a little bit of a collision, but it was good sportsmanship from the Lancia to let the Porsche back past the car. You can just see that the green classic Formula 1 car does not have a lot of grip either. It's struggling to keep the rear end under check. It's just there's a lot of tyre smoke everywhere. This is the battle for second place between Sheep and Significant Yeet. As well, that is the leader there. You probably saw the headlights. Carver was in the lead on this. I'm running away whilst these two fought. The M1 Pro car got to the front. Both Carver and Sheep just managed to catch up to the back of the BMW and get the position, but the BMW is still fighting Sheep with that Formula 1 car. It's going to be on the inside for the multi-apex right-hander. It's going to get the position, however, it's going to be on the outside for the left-hander and doesn't quite have the acceleration, so Sheep is able to reclaim second, and round the final corner is pulled enough of a gap. However, Yeet is going to try go up the inside, but it's not going to matter. The classic Formula 1, Sheep would take second, Yeet would take third, just because of the acceleration, and like I said, Carver would win with the 911 GT2. There was a lot of good battling there. It's just silly, just how quick that Mercedes was. It's hardly believable just how quick that is. It's honestly like it's a hypercar. It's just a different class to everything else. Same with the Monte Carlo around the corners. It's just in a league of its own. And for the final race, they headed to Spa. The Beta Monte Carlo gets a big tag out of turn 1. Is going to drop to the very back of the field as we're following the something. I forgot what it was. There's just many cars blipping in and out of existence. It's one of the green classic Formula 1 cars. Getting big sideways through Eau Rouge Radion, goes around the outpaces the Jaeger 911 GT2 as they go 3 wide. The Jaeger gets a little bit forced out onto the grass. The classic Formula 1 car that following outpaces Carver's 911 GT2 is going to go up the inside of the 4GT and another classic Formula 1, Sheep's Formula 1 car on the braking zone from Kemmel Straight. The Mercedes, the stupidly quick Mercedes, actually gains a lot of positions and then loses it all because there's some corners. The Formula 1 car is on the inside of the Hellcat there, around that hairpin, and is going to get the position. Go away. There's something in my room flying. However, the the green Formula 1 car doesn't really have a lot of grip compared to the Hellcat. It's a strange sentence to say, I know. However, you know, it is a classic Formula 1 car after all. However, the Hellcat does not have the acceleration of it, but does have the grip. You can see through P1, the Hellcat had a sniff up the inside, wasn't able to do it. The Corvette Stingray, that started near the front, was struggling. The car we're following is now having to find past the big Boatley. I say Boatley because, well, it honestly had the turning circle of a boat. Yeah, it absolutely struggled through the corners. It understeered massively and actually pushes the car unintentionally, but pushes it off the track. And the 612, it's hideous, tries to go up the inside of the car that we're following, isn't able to do it, and the green car is able to out accelerate a hell of a lot of cars down this sort of straight-ish, heading up towards Blanchimont. The 911 GT, Carver's 911 GT2 flies around the outside of the Corvette Stingray. The green car goes very, very wide. There's a little bit of grass cutting, as you see the Bentley having to actually use the handbrake to get around the corners. The 612 missed the brakes massively, went into the tyres, I'm pretty sure. You can just see the acceleration of that Bentley. Once it gets going, it's absolutely gone. And you see the car that we're following actually manages to pull a gap to the cars further back. Carver is going to gain 2 positions, going up the inside round turn 1. And the Formula 1 car that we're following is absolutely trying to catch the car and does manage to get it, but it's going to be on a very compromised run. The 97 Civic did have the thing about trying to go up the inside, however, you know, backs out. Yeah, there was the car that we're following here did have a little bit of control issues. It wasn't easy to drive that thing. The massively quick Bentley absolutely was flying. I don't know what was quicker, to be honest, either the Bentley or the Mercedes. I haven't a clue. Down Kemmel Street. Anyway, the 4GT tried to go up the inside of a few cars, outbraked himself, and is going to lose some positions. The 1 Series touring car was actually starting to catch up, heading onto the hairpin here. You see that the Bentley stops turn and then has to rip the handbrake to actually get the car to turn in. So that 1 Series M car actually has to push past, just because of the Bentley having to use the handbrake to actually turn. Yeah, it wasn't great. The 4GT was going to be stuck on the very outside of the Bentley. You can see there the Bentley is now starting to pull a little bit ahead of the 4GT. However, it does not really have an answer round P1. It's going to struggle here. The King Corbett had a little bit of a look up the inside, isn't able to do it. The Ford RS200 tried to go up the inside of that. However, it doesn't really have doesn't quite have the acceleration of the Monaco King Corbett. You see the Bentley having to turn in so early just to make it round the corners. The King Corbett just can't go anywhere. However, around the next corners, spots a gap, goes up the inside. The RS200 also goes up the inside, and so does the M1 Pro car. Once the door's open with this Bentley, it just can't do anything about it, and is just going to lose all the positions. Amura tries to also get past, however, is not quite able to do it, but doesn't actually drop that far back from the Bentley until it starts doing so. The Bentley was just quick as well, stupidly quick. You saw, it is literally, yeah. The Bentley was just ridiculously quick, as now heading up to the final couple of corners. You see how much it struggles, that the Miura is on the back. You see there, it's having to use the handbrake on the final corner just to get it turned in. And yeah, it's just insane. Just how much that thing struggled around the corners. That you see there, it's literally every single corner near enough. That car had to use the handbrake. The Lancia Beta runs a little bit wide out of turn 1. The Miura is on the inside of the Bentley, but the Bentley does have the acceleration on it as they're heading up towards Eau Rouge Radion. The Miura is on the inside, really, where that's really the safest part against that Bentley. However, the Bentley has a much better run than the Miura, and down Kemmel Straight is going to bugger off from the Miura. You can see that even though this Bentley was one of the fastest, it actually didn't pull that much of a gap against the Miura, as again through the next corner having to rip the handbrake. Pretty sure rip the handbrake through there in the face of the Miura just having nowhere to go, and that's what happens when the car doesn't handbrake. It just understeers off the track, and the Miura is able to get the position against the car. Yep, there you go. You just probably caught a glimpse of it having to use the handbrake around that hairpin. Sorry. Anyway, up ahead, the MP412C was having a fight with the Hellcat, with the wooden F1 car, having to... Well, sort of was starting to join in this fight, was in that position of... If a mistake happened, it would be able to make advantage of it. The Hellcat was starting to put pressure on the McLaren. You can see there that the wooden Formula 1 car is now in this fight. The Hellcat tried to go up the inside, is going to go up the inside to head up to the back straight, and is able to get the position. The wooden Formula 1 car runs very wide, loses position to the Monaco King Cobra there. The Monaco King Cobra actually liked this track a lot. It had a lot of acceleration, a lot of grip as well. As I head up towards Blanchimont, I think it's Blanchimont, the King Cobra tries to go on the outside, doesn't do it, tries to do a cutback. However, doesn't actually quite have the speed of it. I think it has to check up just to not go into the back of McLaren. Tries to go up the inside through the penultimate corner there, isn't quite able to do it, gets a bad run and a bit of a slide. The wooden Formula 1 car is then alongside the King Cobra and is going to get the position on it briefly, but the King Cobra has the inside and that car's very good on the brakes on the inside through first corner. It's going to get that position. The McLaren gets a very bad line, runs very wide through that corner there. It does lose a position to the Monaco King Cobra briefly, however, gains a position back as the Monaco tries to go on the outside of the McLaren. The McLaren's carrying too much speed, and of course, it's unfortunate, but it's going to have a monumental crash around Eau Rouge Radillon. Didn't collect anyone, amazingly, but yeah, that was a big crash. The King Cobra, having a compromised run through Eau Rouge Radillon, trying to go around the outside of McLaren MP4, was now having to contend with two class of Formula 1 cars. The green one not having a lot of rear end grip. Yeah, struggled through the corners. The King Cobra would just sail up the inside of both of them, as the one Formula 1 car just was not able to hold it around the outside against the King Cobra. The King Cobra just had so much handling that it really didn't matter whatsoever. And through the corners, it was actually starting to catch up to that Hellcat up ahead. Yeah, as they're heading up towards Pouhon, you can see there just the closing speed of the King Cobra. It's all over, and it's now actually on the back of the Hellcat. It's how much grip that car had, and you know, it wasn't terrible down the straights either. Yes, it didn't really have the top end, but the acceleration was there on the lower end. So you know, it didn't actually lose terrible amounts of time. It can't find a way past the Hellcat though. The Hellcat is just defending, going on the inside of the corners. However, it's going to run wide through one of the right-handers here, and the King Cobra's going to spot a gap, put the car on the inside, and just out-handle the Hellcat, you know, on the back straight. And you can see it does have the initial acceleration. The wooden Formula 1 car tries to go on the inside of a 3 wide, isn't quite able to make it. The Hellcat, even though it had the speed of it, just wasn't able to really do anything around that just quick left-hander there. He's going to have to fall back in the line against the Monaco, and you can just see the gap that's actually able to pull. You know, it really did have a lot of grip. It had a big gap between them. The Lancia Beta, that had a very bad turn 1, had a very bad start, because there was just a few incidences, and started near the back. You know, was starting to claw their way back up to position. You could just see how much braking that had. That it was good. Well, you know, it was miles away from that Corvette Stingray, but just outbrakes it into the penultimate corner. But the Corvette is going to be able to go on the inside into turn 1. The Lancia Beta is forced around the outside. He is able to keep it ahead briefly, but as they head now onto the straight, is just not going to have an answer for that Corvette. The Civic is also going to sail past. You can just get ahead before Eau Rouge Radillon, and you know, it's just going to make the Lancia check up. It's just how much grip that the Lancia had, that you know, it has to check up through that corner, just not going to the back of the Civic. The 612, that was a lot faster than the Lancia, absolutely flies up the inside down Kemmel Straight. However, on the brakes, you can just see the Lancia is starting to catch up. The Bentley, you know, once the race sort of progressed, the Bentley did just start to fall behind. The Lancia goes around the outside of the 612 Scaglietti there, and it's going to get the position around the outside, and the Ferrari isn't going to be able to fight this Lancia around the hairpin. The Lancia just runs a little bit wide through that long left right hand a hairpin there, so I had to flip the circuit around in my head. Well, I had to actually flip what I was thinking originally, sorry. And you see through Pouant that the Lancia is just, it has so much grip. We're going to be on the inside of the Civic, draws alongside, gets ahead briefly, but we're on a small acceleration zone, and the Civic is going to almost draw alongside, or it's not able to get the position, and then the Lancia is just going to outbrake the Corvette yet again. The Lancia was just so good round the corners compared to everything else here. The only car that would really be able to compete with it is the Monaco and the M1 Pro car, but I don't even think then those two would really be able to do much. At the front, Sheep would take another victory with the Classic Formula 1 car there. Second would go to Danger Man, and third place was actually really close. As you can see here, by the photo finish, like, you know, the Aston Martin did claim second, and between the Corvette and, well, Chris in the Corvette and Carver in the Porsche, you can see the Porsche does claim third place, not by a huge amount though, because the way Forza works, if you don't know, it measures it by the front wheels, and you can see that the Porsche was definitely across the line, and the Corvette was just ever so slightly behind it, but not by much. And there you are. This video is probably going to be out when I, well, it's supposed to be out on Thursday. It's not Thursday. Well, it's not going to be out on Thursday, I can tell you that much. I'm trying to keep to the schedule, I do apologise. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. If you want to take part in these, first link in the description will be the Discord where this event takes place. Join that, give yourself the Forza Motorsport event role, and you'll be able to see the FM7 community races. And all you need to do is drop your Xbox gamer tag, whether you are on Xbox or PC. The second link in the description will be my Discord, in case you want to join that. It's up to you. However, that's going to be it from me, and until next time, ciao for now.